Welcome. My name is Malcolm Fry and I'm the author of a few books based around some of the ITIL subjects, one of them being ITIL Light, how to approach ITIL without necessarily implementing the whole thing. Another one is I was a contributor towards a step-by-step guide to building a CMDB, and that was very interesting because it was a collaborative, people working together, identifying ideas and thoughts together. And the third one is building an ITIL-based service management department, which is all about, if you're going to put ITIL in, someone's going to have to manage the processes and someone's going to have to manage the functions. There's no point doing it otherwise. So today I'm presenting on exactly that subject, building an IT service management department to support ITIL. Sometimes we have to look for inspiration. Sometimes inspiration isn't in front of us, and sometimes an analogy helps us to break things down. When I was looking at writing this book, I thought, is there anything where there's so many functions that come together? And I thought about this for a long time, and then bizarrely I came up with the idea of the social structure of ancient Egypt. The running a modern company, or a modern department even, is not a great deal different to what used to happen 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 years ago. At the top of the tree was the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh was there responsible for giving the focal point for everything that happened. The Pharaoh was right up the top of the pyramid. And just below the Pharaoh would be those government officials whose job it is to make everything happen, to make everything tick. In other words, to do two things, to protect the Pharaoh and to serve the Pharaoh, to get the image. Then you would have the soldiers would sit behind there, the protective barrier that goes around the Pharaoh. And the soldiers were two things. They were also the internal police force, so they had a double activity. Then you would have the scribes. The scribe's job is quite simply to document everything that needs documenting. Hey, we're good at that. IT is great at documenting. That's one of the things we do real well. Tons and tons of information, getting the right information at the right time. So given the top of the structure, if as a country, or in fact as a department, we're producing a product, what we need is merchants to go out and sell that product, to explain that product to people. And become kind of like marketing, sales kind of unit. Now, the merchants can only sell what we produce, so we need artisans. And next in the line are artisans. Their job is to produce those phenomenal figurines and objects and jewellery that was produced by the Egyptians, so that they could export it. The merchants could export it. That would bring the money in, so the top piece can keep everything moving. Then, none of this happens without food. So we need farmers. We need farmers to provide that food at the bottom, to make sure everybody's fed, to make sure that when the Nile floods, that we get the right plants in the right place to be able to harvest it. And lastly, there would be that bottom line of servants, whose job was just to fill all the other gaps, to do all the other jobs. So ancient Egypt had the pharaohs, had the government officials, the soldiers, the scribes, the merchants, the artisans, the farmers, and the servants. So how does that relate? Well, let's look across at a modern company. The pharaoh could be seen as the organisation. It's all about selling the products, selling the corporate image, getting the corporate message across, or indeed getting the IT message across. Then we have the government officials. We have that senior management. Senior management's job is to make sure that the image of the company stays up and that the instructions are put in place to move down, to continue to improve, to go forward, to produce new products and so on. Then you have the regular management. Frontline managers, their job is to make sure the actions actually happen and they get fed down from senior management. Then we have that whole line of auditors, accountants, people to keep us on the straight and narrow, and at the same time document everything we do, and so we have our budgets, etc., etc. If we have all that in place, we have to sell our products. So next, just like with the merchants, we have sales and marketing. Sales and marketing's job is to sell the products, to get the products out into market. And then below that we had the artisans. We have skilled technical workers, qualified workers, especially within IT, whose job it is to deliver. And then we have, at the other end, we have our production workers turning the products out. And then back office support, maybe accounts, that kind of thing. So when we look at those ancient Egyptians, we can see a direct parallel with the way we run modern businesses. And in fact, if we take that across to ITIL and to IT service management, we had the organisation a moment ago. That's the focal point, the mission. Why are we looking to implement ITIL? Why are we building an ITIL service management department? What are the reasons for it? What are our objectives? The next level is the key decision level. Senior management have to make decisions. If we're going to implement ITIL, what are we going to do? Who's going to manage it? Where are those people going to work? Who do they report to? Once we've got that, we have to start putting those decisions into practice, which was the management level. Putting the decisions into practice, making it happen. And we have to document that. And we have to make sure we have the finance in place for that. We need to communicate with our peers. We need to be developing and producing the systems. We need to be performing the operational activities and those basic roles. So when we look at it, the department's more or less the same. So ITIL processes, well, let's stop calling them processes. They're actually components. You won't find many ITIL processes called ITIL processes. You don't have incident process. You have incident management. Get that in your head first of all. Try and find out as much as you can about the processes, how they fit together. And then look at why you should put in service management. It's about taking a logical approach. It's about grouping ITIL components into logical connections. And in fact, to sum up, we can see that as a 7-point approach. Creating department profiles. What would service management do? What's its objective? Creating a construction mandate. The deliverables. What we're going to deliver from the profile. We have to identify the fundamental tasks, the ones we are doing or we are going to do. There may be some non-ITIL tasks that we have to bring in. For example, you may want to bring in HR, IT-HR, human resources into there. So we have to identify non-ITIL fundamental tasks. Eliminate those tasks that are not required. Create associated fundamental task packs. In other words, put them together. Incident, problem, change. They obviously fit together as a unit. From that, you can construct your department. So, 7 steps. I hope you found this explanation interesting. I hope you found it informative. If you want any further information, please visit bestmanagementpractice.com. Thank you.